We're ready to start. Just confirming that everyone can hear us. If you can just click on react and maybe a thumbs up or a smiley. Okay, good. Good to know. So we've got yes. It's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So welcome, dear Jeff IW colleagues, to another exciting webinar on communications and outreach topics organized by the Jeff UNDP UNEP IOC of the UNESCO IW Learn project. So my name is Christine Custodio Gudzinski. Everyone calls me Teen, and I'm delighted to be your host today. So before we start, let me just pull up our small presentation here, and I will ask Camilla to give us some housekeeping rules and tips to make this webinar enjoyable for everyone. So over to you, Camilla. Let me just, okay, there you go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I am Maria Camila León, IWL consultant in communications and knowledge management. Just some tips and rules before to start. Please keep your microphone mute. Also, this section is being recorded for your information. And also, please try to engage as much as possible with the webinar. Let's try to do it as much interactive as possible. We have the Q&A for questions, the chat for feedback. You can also react and raise your hands to speak. Thank you and welcome.
Thanks very much, Camilla. So before we start, we just want to ask everyone just some 2 to 3 questions. We have some poll questions. Camilla, if you can just pull up the first question just to check how everyone is doing today. So, how's everyone feeling today? Let's just give this some 30 seconds to see how everyone is feeling. Are you feeling great? Is it late for you? We have a poll. You can actually, I hope you can reply.
I cannot see the poll. Then.
Okay. Let's just check Camilla.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Yeah, maybe there's just a little bit delay because right now we have about 40 participants. So around 50 participants. This is the biggest that we've had so far. So we can say that it would be nice to think that we have one representative for each project in the portfolio right now. That would be great. So how are you guys feeling? Somehow I'm not seeing any reply. So, and results are shared. I'm not able to see it right now. I think it should be possible. You can go to the chat. Please go to the chat.
Yeah.
And so 23 already replied. So I can't see the results, unfortunately. So, but I hope everyone is feeling great. And for those who are not feeling great, we hope this webinar will cheer you up and will eliminate some of the challenges in your work and project, and that you will leave the webinar feeling much lighter. So next question is, which IW theme are you representing? So I really don't know which views you are seeing. I think you can see all of the 3 questions. And I'll just have a look at it after. Yeah, we'll just give everyone just 1 more minute to reply to the poll questions, and then we'll share the results later on. There you go. So now I'm seeing it. So we have a lot of representatives from the marine portfolio. Not so much from the freshwater, but a lot from also from the cross-cutting themes. And many people, many participants are logging in from Europe right now. So thanks very much. So before I start with the program, let me turn over to Constantina for some welcome remarks from our host, IWL. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for being here today. This webinar is part of the series of webinars that we have on communications in IWL in this current phase of in IWL 5. And we are focusing on several themes that have been already identified through surveys that are the areas of interest that you would like, to see more, and you would like to learn more and build your capacities further. We invite you to follow us, to read our news, to contribute to our news. This is how we can, as IWL, power this community, the IW community. We are here, to support you. We're here to help you develop your capacities, and of course, to disseminate your lessons, your learnings, your good practices, to increase the outreach of your projects and your results. By the way, I didn't introduce myself. So I am Konstantina Toli. I'm the IWL 5 project coordinator. This is a new team here in IOC UNESCO, the new PCU, the IWL 5 PCU. And it is our pleasure that we have more than double participants. I see 48 participants in this 49 in this webinar. So it's a true pleasure to have you here today. And of course, let's keep this work going. And apart from the webinars that are coming up in the coming months, there will be a communications workshop, a global workshop for communications within our portfolio that will take place at the pre-conference of the International Waters Conference in September in Uruguay. So please liaise with your project coordinators or project managers. There is a role there for you, and will be an interactive and very much promising workshop. So until then, we'll see you at the series of webinars, but of course the PCU is always here to support you. Do not hesitate to reach out to us and to the whole team. Thank you, and looking forward to this webinar. Over, Christine.
Thank you very much, Constantina. And we're very excited now to go to our program proper. So our main topic for today is strategic communication, navigating effective planning and implementation in real world scenario. So just a very quick recap. In the first comms webinar, we did a survey. So many people joined in from Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe, and some from Asia. We did not have participants from the Pacific, which is understandable. And then many of the participants also represented the marine portfolio, and many from freshwater, and some from the cross-cutting things. And then we did a short poll on which topic they would like to see, which is now. And yeah, many of the participants replied that they wanted to see how to effectively come up with a strategic communication plan. So this is what brought us to this topic today. We have a full program. We have really great speakers. And for the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the program, but I'm going to post on the chat the link to the event if you want to just have a look at the profile of our speakers if you have not done it yet. So the link is on the chat box. And for our main speaker, who would be introducing to us how the pillars of strategic communication and planning based on a real world scenario. So in a world wherein we don't have the time to read 200 pages of a strategic communication plan, and we don't have 1 month to plan for it. So we will have very practical tips. And she's connecting from Nairobi. So in this case, we would like to request those who have their videos to turn it off. That's why my video is also off right now, just to help her with the bandwidth. So I would introduce her. So Josie Rain is leading the global engagement and advocacy for UNDP's Nature Hub. She will speak more about the Nature Hub. The Ocean Innovation Challenge, I think you've heard, some of you have heard of it. And also, many of the UNDP projects have been working under the Water and Ocean Governance Program of UNDP, is now under the Nature Hub. So this is a great opportunity for the UNDP implemented projects to know more about the Nature Hub and our approach in UNDP on communication. Josie has extensive experience in strategic communications, having also worked with UNEP, WHO, and UNICEF on various environmental, nature, climate topics, as well as counter human and wildlife trafficking across Southeast Asia. She also has a very strong marketing and advertising background, having worked in a leading New York-based communication agency, leading comms for Procter and Gamble, which is a very, very big company. And from my end, Josie is an excellent collaborative leader, skillfully executing strategic communications and crafting impactful advocacy campaigns. So, without further ado, let me share her presentation and then we can hear from her. So, over to you, Josie, while I'm uploading this.
Thank you so much. All right. I've taken control. Is that right now?
Could everyone see her slides?
Yes, yes, we see it.
Yes.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much, team, for that very complimentary introduction. Hi, everybody. It's great to have an opportunity to talk to you today about strategic communications. Obviously, topic very close to my heart and experience, and it's really exciting to share with you how this how this set of skills and tools and approach has a real potential to make a real difference in the nature and environment space. So I wanted to go through with you today are three sort of main things. One is to talk about where I'm coming from right now in my current role, looking after communications and global advocacy at UNDP's Nature Hub, so you can sort of have that sort of real world vantage point. And I will share with you how we're leveraging strategic communications from that position against those particular challenges. And then I wanted to share some really quick pillars of how-tos that we are already applying here in the Nature Hub at UNDP. But I will preface this by saying as part of what we're doing, we are building out actually a lot of toolkits that include strategic toolkits. And one product is a model communication strategy designed specifically for people to cut and paste. So to lift this comms toolkit, which is something like this model strategy, which is something like 14 or 15 pages in Word, to lift that and to drop in the elements that you might want to customize, chop and change, but really instead of providing guidance and more guidance, actually to provide something that's perhaps 60% written already, 80% written already, just needs a bit more manipulation and customization for your exact needs and exact region. And that was identified as a conspicuous opportunity and something that people might want and need. And I'd be very glad to share that with everybody on this call as soon as that is signed off and approved. So just wanted to share that that's something we can also offer as a follow-up. Okay, so here at UNDP in the Nature Hub, we've really sort of had a marker in the sand from the nature agenda last December but one, so just over a year ago, 190 nations, countries and states adopted the Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which includes really ambitious goals and targets, many of which need to be implemented by 2030. UNDP and our team particularly really needed to be ready to support countries. I've just seen the note in chat that my slides aren't changing.
Do you have control?
Okay. I am moving them forward. Maybe
In
they're
which
very
slide number
slow.
you are? First slide?
So I'm on slide 3.
Slide 3. Okay. Can everyone see slide 3 now?
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe it's just a little slow. Okay. All right. Just bear with me if there's a bit of a lag. Okay. Okay. So on slide 4 now. But really UNDP's support countries, we needed to be ready, and we have launched what we have called UNDP's Nature Pledge. This is how we are planning to commit to supporting countries to achieve these ambitious goals and targets of the Global Biodiversity Framework and achieving that within Agenda 2030. Okay, what it comes down to now on slide 5, hopefully that will catch up soon, is really something that's quite communication in nature. So we did some substantive desk research, and we recognise that actually we are always going to be lagging ambition, especially on a policy point of view, as long as economic interests are not reconciled with environmental interests. And for the most part, there's a lot of strategic communication related barriers inherent in that challenge. So we recognized that we needed to be supporting countries through 3 transformational shifts that really elevated the value of nature, so that that could offer a far more enabling environment for that bolder policy action that we know needed to happen and new countries had committed to. These 3 transformational shifts are: 1, a value shift, which really comes down to things that are communications. All of us working in communications are very familiar with, making sure that we are shifting narratives behind a nature positive agenda, making sure that we're learning from and applying best practice in terms of behaviour change to really support a momentum behind policy. The second transformational shift is accounting for nature and shifting financial flows in a nature positive direction. We know that the value of nature is often missing from economic and financial systems. We also know that when it starts getting counted, it also triggers behaviour change as well as a result of being counted differently. We know that there are opportunities to talk about changing risks if you don't account for nature in your supply chains, that allows then a greater wave of momentum from certain industries and from certain sectors once that happens. And finally, the third transformational shift is a lot of what we do at UNDP already, but just with sort of added intent, which is a policy and practice shift. So really making sure that all these 3 shifts, the value shift, the economic and finance shift, and the policy and practice shift, all pull together to really maximise that opportunity for bold, timely policy making. Onto slide 6, I have a video here. Christine, I don't know if you tested it and if it worked. I know that we're having really tough bandwidth issues, so I might allow people to play this in their own time, but it really is worth a watch. It's 3 minutes, which really exposes the huge potential that we have when we are looking at things like global narrative shifts, in order to recognise this type of work, these types of activities, as a really powerful lever of change. And the the video here that I've provided just captures some of those really familiar, recognizable, powerful examples of where global changes and shifts have been as a result of a shifting narrative that's just given space for big changes to policy in a direction that has been, really otherwise quite difficult and challenging to do at the pace that it needed. Especially sort of changes in sort of civil society movements in particular. Someone joining. And someone's mic is open. Let you know. Mallory?
That's a very young representative from the portfolio. I didn't know that we have a very young
brilliant.
recruit.
Yes, we know we need
Thank
to
you,
appeal more, and I think that was good. All right. And so how is strategic communications helping us? So on to slide 8 now. I hope you can see it. Really, strategic communications, when it comes down to it, are these big pillars. So it really is communications, but really grounded in insight and really led by objectives. As a result, it's communications that really is driven by the objectives and is designed inherently to be effective and efficient about achieving those objectives, optimizing its ability to achieve those objectives on an ongoing basis. So we always start in strategic communications with situational analysis wherever we might have gaps. So this can be in the form of a needs assessment, this can be a barrier analysis, landscape analysis, audience insights, whatever combination of analysis is required to have a comprehensive going in understanding of what our objectives might be, or what our audience might be, and what our message might need to be in order to meet those objectives with that audience. So this is really the basic pillars, and the model communication strategy I mentioned at the beginning really gives you a template to comprehensively move through each of these pillars in turn, and at the end you would have a really robust communication strategy if you followed this sort of sequence. There's a lot more you can add to it, but this really gets you more than off the starting line, and really with a strong and robust product that you can use for all your strategic communication types of needs. And then, of course, measurement being the final pillar, which really should be reflecting your objectives, your measurement, your key performance indicators needs to be an equal sort of mirror of what objectives you laid out, and needs to continually sort of feed back in so that you can have subsequent ways of your campaign or of your communications optimized by what you learned last time. So for us, we followed exactly these sorts of pillars in the same way. We were very aware that there is rising awareness of environmental risks, such as this most recent WEF Global Risk Report has now seen, as a jump from the previous year, has seen 4 of the 5 top global risks in terms of perception all be linked to environmental risks for the first time. But we are losing share of attention versus other risks, other things that are top of mind to populations around the world in terms of what they think are of as most urgent and important. And you can see that by this slide here on slide 10, where the size of the circles related to environmental risks are actually shrinking, with the exception of this one, which is natural resource shortages. And you can sort of see how sensitive in that people's perceptions are to what's happening topically in any given year. So with the war in Ukraine, for example, it's really kind of put a sort of a spotlight on our vulnerability to natural resource scarcity, whether that's food insecurity or energy insecurity. So that's why that particular aspect of environmental risk has remained something that has quite high awareness and attention. But you can see that the others have really kind of shrunk at least by half for the most of them. So we really have to shout louder and more meaningfully in order to cut through. And this is a real representation of what policymakers are going to be alert to, sensitive to, and what they will need to prioritise and respond to. So it is important for us to be conscious of that wider landscape of what policymakers are going to be alert to. And the 3Ds. So the 3Ds, this is true of most environmental issues at the global level. We have these ongoing underlying challenges that we need to be very alert to. So the first is some of our topics and the way that we've historically talked about them are incredibly data heavy and include a lot of acronyms. Most of us here on this call know that and are alert to it and try to avoid it. Also, the issues we are talking about are not immediate emergencies, but often slow moving. They're often far away, and they're far future. And finally, the third one is that these are often negative messages. People don't really want to think or hear about it, and they feel quite defensive and protective of what they're thinking about in that moment otherwise, and they'd rather not. So if they can delay, divert, ignore, they certainly will as much as they can, because that's human nature. So for us, if we want to really be strategic, we need to both be quite careful and well planned and substantive as well. We need to make what's complex and data heavy easy to understand. Doesn't mean making it so simple that it's kind of too vague and open for misinterpretation, but it needs to. We always see explainers, for example, doing really well. It needs to be relatable. We're all good at this, human-centered storytelling, but making sure that we've got diversity in that storytelling and diversity in those voices we're elevating, and so that it can relate to the maximum breadth of people. And we need to be resonant to sort of counter that dissonance, and that's telling stories that meet our audience where they already are. So finding what common ground we have. So if we need to communicate about some of our projects that are happening in a very different context to the audience we want to appeal to, it's really important to think about how we connect that story in that place, happening to those people, impacting those beneficiaries, how we connect that back to the priorities and the needs, the values of our intended audience. Importance of this for us is really can't be understated, because we know that if we're going to shift narratives, we need to connect with many more people outside our own echo chamber. We need to be connecting with a diversity of people who are working in financial sectors, economic planning and decision making, other policy makers in other parts of government, in order for us to break through and for the messages that we have about nature, about environmental agenda, really start breaking through. So my final section is a bit of a whistle-stop tour through the things that we strive to talk about in my team when we talk about nature. So in terms of language, we know we need to be very scientifically precise. It's really important that everything we say is meets and can counter disinformation. So we need to be very robust in what we say. Vagaries don't really help. Euphemisms don't really help. But it also has to be clear and easy to understand and avoid acronyms. So I won't dwell on this because we're all communicators and this is all important. One thing we look at is also what kind of messages are coming from the Secretary General, because we can say anything up to what the Secretary General says on some of these environmental issues, and often he sets the agenda in terms of how confident and clearly he wants to be talking about it as an emergency. So we can
Okay, I think we lost Josie. I hope she'll be able to reconnect very quickly. Yeah, this is the challenge of distance in this case. It's also important to have good internet connection. Oh, she's back. Back to you again, Josie.
Sorry. Okay. We've got some visual do's and don'ts that we've learned along the way. If you go to Google Images, you'll see almost a wall of green if you type in nature, and that has a risk factor for us because it means that we become wallpaper, that we become easy to box. People are over familiar with what we're about to say because they've seen it before. We try to avoid pristine landscapes without human beings in sight because this isn't really that sort of isn't seizing that opportunity to speak to that real importance of bringing together and reconciling people and planet. And we try to avoid some of these other cliches as well. And the visual do's, we really want to reflect that biodiversity of nature in the diversity of our color palette. We want to really make sure that people and planet are visible, and we want it to be aspirational. I think there's a lot of, especially where we are at UNDP, sometimes we can be guilty of showing sort of pastoral landscapes of very sort of happy farmers when actually we're depicting people whose lives are very difficult and hard. And I think that's something that we strive very hard to do better. We also, instead of presenting images of very charismatic species, lions, elephants, we strive to include pollinators, birds, insects, fish, and nature as food as well. We really strive to support a bigger story, which means telling stories that expand what's possible. So instead of telling a story about one thing happening once, we tell a story that shares how this is scaling or scalable. We point out what's hopeful about it and what it represents in terms of future opportunity. We want to take the opportunity to create a sense of inevitability. So again, keeping signaling, taking opportunities to talk about where this is going, what that endpoint is, what that better world is that we are directing this transition towards, and actually being able to name and label some of the processes like the GBF and the achievement of that, I think is very helpful to this end as well. We want to elevate diverse voices because the more diverse voices are heard telling a common story, the bigger that story becomes. And we know that we can't pit people against planet. We've seen that happen time and time again, and that is never as effective. It really risks backsliding on green policies. We've seen that happen most recently in the agricultural policy reform space in particular, and it's a real risk. And we have more than enough examples and case studies and stories that tell a story of win-win, and we need to make sure that we are elevating those stories and securing more space in the overall narrative for stories that say this is good for people and planet, this is good for economic opportunity and environmental protection, and occupy more space with those stories than not. And then my final section is just to, or my final sort of quick sequence of slides is just to sort of say how we're elevating our framing in order to achieve some of these strategic aims. Today, we are saying instead that nature is interdependent with and integral to human life on Earth. We talk about it being, you know, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. Sorry, it's slow my side too now. And it's really connected to the stability of our planet. For too long, we know that nature is often just another thing on a to-do list. And while sort of the fast lane towards decarbonisation is critical, and I certainly don't undermine it, nature action is also important in terms of how we tell stories, because it can address broader risks, and also it brings solutions. So talking about the nature agenda is an opportunity to inject hope and opportunity and possibility into multiple crises. It allows us, and it allows communicators and storytellers to talk about jobs, to talk about opportunities, to talk about positive futures. It allows us to talk about development through a lens of optimism. And so for us and me and my team's role, we are really striving to elevate the value of nature as not just something on a to-do list, and not something that can be boxed or siloed as just the green agenda, but actually a foundational solution that's abundant in opportunity, and brings us towards this new era of nature positive human flourishing. So that is a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I wanted to give you a sense of not just the pragmatics of how we're planning strategic communications, but an opportunity to see how those principles and that theory is being applied in practice. And as I say, as soon as that model communication strategy is finished within the next couple of weeks, I'd be very grateful through Christine, and very happy through Christine to share that with this cohort here. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Josie, for the very, very informative presentation. I'm very sure that our colleagues have learned a lot from your sharing. We have two questions for now on the Q&A chat. So first question is from Nicole. I don't know if you're able to see the Q&A. I can also just read it. It says, should we be putting our energy into reaching the general public where impact can be less measurable, but we maybe reach more people or specific individuals where impact might be better quantified, but you reach less people en masse? What is the best balance here? So she wants to understand. Yeah, she said that maybe it depends on the goals. So what's your comment on this one, Josie?
Yeah, I think it's answered in it depends on your goals. So I would go back to those first two pillars of strategic comms. So making sure that you've had an opportunity to just take a moment and consider the situation. Do you have an opportunity? Is there a need to create a better enabling environment, especially in a national context? You may feel that you are doing a huge amount of work to support policymakers to design new, greener policies, but in the country in which you're working, there's very low awareness about the green agenda. So these policies aren't going to necessarily benefit from popular public support when they really could, because there's just a big gap of awareness and understanding about how this is going to really benefit, etc. And so then that means that you might be wanting to create an objective explicitly about creating a more enabling environment for these public policies once they're getting announced and rolled out and implemented in that particular context. In that case, that becomes a strategic objective that you can really design for alongside your other promotional needs and obligations. And I think it's taking that thoughtful approach and that sort of that strategic planning lens through it also means that you can then take that thinking to be it sort of your to either your government counterparts or those who are supporting policymakers, and explain that this is what you've identified and these are the things that you might be able to do to deliver against it. And you may find that it yields more partnerships, maybe additional funding to do that, maybe additional opportunities to collaborate with other communication departments, perhaps in local in government departments as well.
There's another question. I think this will be difficult. This will be tricky to answer. So could you give an example of a comms campaign you did at UNDP, successful one, yeah, and a good storytelling you had the opportunity to tell? Yeah, I guess we can stop on these two questions because we still have two other presenters who can also provide answers to this question. So yeah. Now, which one is the most successful, would you say?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of I work with a lot of talented communicators, and there's really good examples. I think from the very biggest strategic communication opportunities. So I hope many of you saw Frankie the Dinosaur in the last couple of years. So this was a strategic communications and behavior change campaign designed explicitly to raise awareness about fossil fuel subsidies and enter the places and spaces where policymakers and decision makers were gathering on topics related to fossil fuel subsidies, for example, the big climate COPs, and keep this issue of fossil fuel subsidies and the potential of fossil fuel subsidy reform top of mind. So bringing a giant model dinosaur into those environments was really a very powerful and successful example. And of course, that was just the sort of tip of the iceberg. There was a large amount of communication material, assets and videos and op-eds and blogs that went behind that as well, as you would expect, but sharing that one because it was A, particularly successful, and B, you might have recalled and remember it because it was one of our biggest. And in terms of storytelling, Tina knows we have a substantial pipeline of stories that we put out. I would say that the ones that really are compelling, they get used and reused in so many different platforms. So we have had some that particularly stand out, and they, for example, one is some of the stories around Project Gold, for those of you who might be familiar, which is around making artisanal gold mining more safe by practices that remove mercury from that process. And there were just very many distinct human interest stories that we could extract from that. I would say that it is important to attach a small communication budget to every one of your projects so that you can assign a photographer and a videographer, somebody who's practiced in asking questions, capturing valuable nuggets of content. And I think certainly under the Jeff portfolio, we make a big effort to communicate at the top level that it's really vital for communication budget to be attached to every project for that purpose, because every good project can inspire other projects, can be a source of information, inspiration for others. So I think that is where I'll end, just to say that this work is vital and valuable, and it does need, and you can ask for funding to deliver that.
Thank you very much, Josie. So I think we'll have to move to our next presentation. It was a pleasure being with you today. Thanks very much for accepting our invitation to join us today and for sharing your time and everything you taught us today. For everyone who's interested to see the kind of storytelling that we do share a lot of stories. We cover a lot of topics on nature, environment, and everything development. So you may follow us on our Twitter. And we have I will also share the link to the Nature Hub's exposure platform, just to give you some inspiration. Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to move on to our next speaker. So Stefania Fumo is currently the communication specialist and coordinator at the FAO Jeff Coastal Fisheries Initiative, working on promoting sustainable and prosperous small-scale fishing communities and ecosystems in Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Ecuador, Indonesia, Peru, and Senegal. So she has worked as a freelance brand copywriter and journalist, translator, and editor for various international clients and projects. And she's one of my favorite storytellers in the portfolio because she really does a wonderful job at humanizing the rather technical, scientific, and political world of the Jeff IW, as we know. So now I'll turn over the floor to Stefania to share us her secret superpowers. Over to you.
Christine, thank you so much.
Don't forget to take control.
I did. I believe I did, yes.
And sorry, one last thing. If any of you ever come up with a question, feel free to put it at any given point at the Q&A box so that we can line up all your questions. Thank you. Over to you again.
Okay. So thank you, Christine, for inviting me. It's a huge honor. Thank you. I'm very thrilled to be here with all of you today. So I'm a storyteller by trade, and I brought Snoopy here with me because I love Snoopy. I love when he's being a writer. And this is a reminder to all of us that as writers and storytellers, we need to be old school on some level. We need three very basic things. We need an open mind that is, as Josie said, also analytical and strategic. We need to have a heart. We need to be empathetic. And we need our pen, our tool for writing. Now, so the Coastal Fisheries Initiative has a lot of moving parts. All of them are supported by and driven by scientific evidence from many, many different kinds of experts in many fields. We have biologists, biology, climate, economy, gender, law, statistics, the list goes on. So our job as storytellers is to communicate that complexity, but without losing the essential information in words that everyone can understand. So first of all, a couple of words about jargon. When I started at the Coastal Fisheries Initiative, which was exactly 2 years ago, they handed me a project document that was over 100 pages. It was basically a mass, like a wall of information in extremely technical language. And it took me a really long time to break it down for myself so that I could understand it in order to communicate it to others. So here I gave you a little example. I took the text on the left is from the project document, and the one on the right is my translation of it into regular language. Now, storytelling, and here I'm talking about human-centered storytelling, so human interest stories. It's our most powerful tool in our communication arsenal. You know, if you're able to tell a good story, it will reach the hearts and minds of your audience much faster than any policy brief or any technical report. So you should think of stories as complements, you know, to the technical documentation of your project, which of course is super important. The stories are kind of a way to let it slide into the general consciousness. Here I give you an example. Our World Oceans Day campaign in 2023, I reached out to our communication officers in all of our countries, which are 6 across 3 continents. And I said that I wanted to hear from the field. I wanted to hear the stories, the voices of the communities. So I gave them each a list of questions to ask. Ask them to go into the field, interview a fisher or a fish worker, and ask them, what message would you like to send on World Oceans Day? And I really have to thank my colleagues who I know how far they traveled and how hard they worked to come back with these beautiful stories and photos as well. I give you the links here, but here's a couple of screenshots. They were published on the IWL platform. So this is our beautiful story from Cabo Verde. This one is our beautiful story from Indonesia. And you will find that people, they will come up with amazingly beautiful, inspiring words all on their own. You just have to be there and to listen and to ask the right questions. Another really powerful tool I found are video capsules. Because they're short, you know, and so they will deliver messages really fast. These are 4 examples from our project, and each one is a little story, and it kind of fits into the bigger picture of the CFI, which the Coastal Fisheries Initiative. And the whole point of the Coastal Fisheries Initiative is that our approach is holistic. You need an approach that works bottom up, top down, and across in order to achieve sustainability. This means you have to put communities at the center, you have to work with government, you have to work with scientific institutions. Everybody has to be on board. So you tell a lot of little stories and they build up to a much bigger narrative. And it'll sink into people's minds because it makes sense, because as human beings, we understand stories. So the top left capsule was our International Women's Day 2023 message. It was a message from Gisèle Cra, who is one of our beneficiaries in Côte d'Ivoire, a really amazing woman. The top right capsule was for World Fisheries Day in 2022, and the theme that year was social protection. And the 2 bottom ones are illustrating 2 aspects of our approach. One is on participatory research, and the other one is on alternative livelihoods. And I made a little list of tips and tools. Oh, it's not gonna let me go forward until they all start. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Okay. It's not letting me go forward. 1 second. Here we go. I wanted to show you my tips and tools. Navigate forward. Okay, here we go. Tips and takeaways. Sorry about that. Now, I guess the biggest one, the most important one, if you can, is to go into the field. It is absolutely essential. There is absolutely no substitute for firsthand experience, because once you're there with the people on the ground, you will understand their struggles and their hardships, and also their triumphs, you know, their accomplishments. And this will like shine through in everything that you say and do, and in the way that you write. You want to anchor your stories in real life. This is my journalistic background coming to the fore. You want to try to elicit as many concrete details as possible. What time do you get up in the morning? How many children do you have? How old are they? How long does it take you to harvest that particular kind of shellfish? How many hours a day do you spend out there on the sea or among the mangroves? All of these details will help your audience to put themselves in the place of your subject. This is empathy and this is identification. And that will make your stories compelling. And then the other thing is that, you know, when speaking with our beneficiaries, these are people who work very, very hard for very, very long hours to make a living to feed their families. And so any time that they're willing to share with us is very precious. And we are privileged to be able to spend time with them and listen to their stories and experiences. And then, like as Josie was saying, definitely negotiate a budget like to spend on good photography and good videography. You need those qualified professionals with you to bring back the photos and the footage. Those are absolutely essential and will make your story much more powerful. And I think that's it. Yes. And I leave you with a big thank you.
Hey, thanks very much, Stefania. Um, yay, wow. Look at the support from everyone. Okay, before we get into the Q&A for Stefania and our next presenter, we'll have to, let me just pull up the presentation. So let's listen first to the presentation of um, the Arafura and Timor Seas Ecosystem Action Phase 2 or ATSI2 project. So this is a very special team presentation. It's a tandem of a communications and knowledge management specialist. So that's Stella Puteri. And also the project manager of the project of ATSI2 himself. So ATSI2 is one, if not the most productive project in terms of communicating and sharing the outcomes, the results, the stories from their projects. Their stories have been published by mainstream media organizations in Indonesia and the region, and we're here to find out and learn from, yeah, how they did it. So over to you, Stella and Mashan.
Okay. Can you share the slide, Tin?
Somehow it disappeared. Let me share it again.
Yeah.
I don't know how, how that happened.
I'm sorry, I think that's my bad. I don't know how to operate this Teams.
No problem. We're live, so everyone can see that it's not
Okay.
recorded.
So anyway, good
Anything
morning,
can happen.
afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you, Tin. Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, we would like to share our experience from the HC2 projects, an initiative, especially on the strategic communications, an initiative that exemplify the effective planning and implementation in real-world environmental conservation scenarios. Next slide, please. So our talk will cover 4 points. I will start with the HC2 brief, then elaborate why communication and knowledge management is important. After that, I will handing over to Stella to continue our experience from the field and then provide you some key learning. Next slide, please. So the HC2 project is a second phase of the HC program, the Arafura and Timor Seas Ecosystem Actions, collaborative effort involving Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, and Australia, funded by GF and executed under UNDP. The project also partners with PEMC Resource Facility for regional and PNG components. If you can see the Arafura and Timor Seas regions in the blue color is located in the northern part of Australia and then southern part of the Timor-Leste and Indonesia waters. So these regions rich in biodiversity, however, face significant environmental threats, including habitat degradation, species loss, unsustainable fisheries, marine and land-based pollutions, and impact from climate change. This challenge is also raising awareness and prompting actions amid diverse and sometimes conflicting stakeholders' interests. Our one of our solutions involve targeted communication that highlights the ecological importance on the region and also urgent need for conservation tailored to resonate with various audience. Uh, the, pro- the projects aim to collectively manage and sustain the rich marine and fisheries resources of the Arafura and Timor Sea region. Since starting in 2019, HC2 has been committed to promoting sustainable development, enhancing the quality of life for local communities, and fostering the conservation and sustainable management of marine coastal ecosystems. So the SC2 project cover three components, with the third component is communication and knowledge management. Our goal in the communications is to enhance the dissemination of project informations and best practices through formulation and implementation of a communication strategy. Effective communication is crucial for fostering stakeholder engagement and community support. The challenge lies in ensuring our message are clear, engaging, and reach a wide audience. Our solution is a multifaceted communication strategy that include stakeholder mapping. I think I saw from Josie's, we call it like situational analysis, yeah, and then tailored messaging and diverse communication channels to ensure broad and impactful outreach. So we combine communication and knowledge management. Communications and knowledge management are two important but different areas that help organizations work effectively. Communications is all about how information, ideas, and messages are shared with people, while knowledge management deals with handling the knowledge within the an organization. I will stop here. So I will handing over to Stella to continue what have been done by the project in the practical lives in the field and then in the national level and also in the regional level. Over to you, Stella.
Okay, thank you, Mas Han. Hello, everyone. I'm gonna continue, Mas Han. So back to the previous slide, then please. So we combine communications and knowledge management. So let's just talk about how we mix like two key ingredients in our project. Like communication and knowledge management is like blending two powerful tools to supercharge our project's impact, basically. And it's just not about talking or storing information. It's about creating a loop where our knowledge helps us communicate better, and our communication brings in even more knowledge. This makes our project more connected and ready to tackle challenges with the best information at hand. So we use various ways, social media, websites, and newsletter to reach people. And we gather, store, and share information, whether it's written down or through any other way possible. Next. Okay, so how do we do it? Let's break down. It's more general compared to previous speakers' presentations. So basically, we use C4D, Communications for Development. I believe it's already, how to say it, like people here in communication team are already familiar with that concept, with that framework. Let's break down our communication strategy into four main parts. Playing analogy here, so it's like building a house. First, we lay the foundation with strategic communications. That's the first one, to set the stage for everything we do. It's all about getting our core message right And the next one is internal communications. We built the internal framework with internal communications. This is like the beams of our house, keeping our team strong and connected, making sure everyone is on the same page, and making sure that everyone contributes to the development of our products and activities. Then the third one is digital communication. You know, everyone nowadays goes digital. So it's like we add the walls and the roof to the house, which is our digital communication. This part lets us spread our word widely, reaching out to people everywhere through online platforms. Even though our main goal in communications is not campaign in this project, but we think that raising awareness and promote what we do is still crucial for our project. And finally, we paint and decorate the house with media engagement. This makes our project stand out, grabbing attention and highlighting our work to the public. So each part is crucial, building on the previous one to create a complete and effective communication strategy, like constructing a house, basically. Every step is important to make the entire structure strong and visible. Next slide, please. Okay, so let me go to the specific points. The first one is strategic communication. We set the foundation here. It's like our overall game plan. It defines what we want to achieve, who we need to reach. It's basically to boost awareness and share insights with captivating content on various platforms like website and social media. The focus is on engaging the audience with frequent updates and interactive content constantly. Um, Thank you, Stefania. Uh, Constantly refining the approach based on effectiveness. The strategic communication also ensures the message effectively reaches and impacts the audience, aligning with the project's main goals. Next. Yeah, so it's a bit packed. I'm sorry. In strategic communication, there are a lot of things actually that we did, and we've been doing it and up until now. The first one, it all starts with the assessment. Basically, we define our goals, we outline clear and measurable objectives that the communication strategy aims to achieve, and then we need to assess our audience with stakeholder mapping that Mashan explained previously. And we set the strategy, and don't forget to revisit the strategy regularly. We identify and understand the target audience to tailor message effectively and use the tools effectively as well. The third one, we choose our channels. So the strategy is that we select one key platform and one key product, and assess the most effective other platforms. We assess the most effective ones, as well as tools to reach and engage audience, like newsletters and websites. That's our two main products. And then we craft a key message. We develop concise, impactful messages that align with our goals and resonate with the audience. And utilize AI maybe to brainstorm, and promote our brand. So we need to be consistent with branding and an organization or project's identity. That's why we create guidelines, collateral templates, merchandise like you can see in my shirts at sea. Another conventional product. Why conventional product? It's for the community, basically, in the field, who can barely connect to the internet. So they can get to know more about at sea through our conventional product, like merchandise and posters and other printed materials. And then last but not least, This is the most important one. We measure our success in strategic communication, implement the methods to evaluate the effectiveness through regular monitoring. It should be regular monitoring and analysis. So monitoring is nothing without analysis, of course, as well as behavior change that's seen in the community. So for the strategic communication part, of course, we face the challenge. So the challenge is it's a bit tricky sometimes to craft message that resonate across diverse platforms and with various stakeholders. So the solution to it is that uh, we need to make sure the effectiveness of our communications strategy and our ability to remain flexible, responsive to our audience's needs and the ever-changing environmental landscape. We need to stay informed. So yeah. Next, please. Is to ensure the team is well informed, cohesive, and motivated, fully aware of our project objectives, our goal, and their contribution is crucial for the whole project. This also fosters a transparent, cooperative environment and enhances the team's competencies, promoting overall project success. Next. So this is what we do in internal communications part. We do regular check-ins monthly with all the team members regionally and internally in communication team that only includes two of us. We do regular check-in weekly. We let teammates keep updated. I personally also do daily media monitoring and share related information to related project issues related information that's been going on in the world. And then we do capacity building training as well. We conducted creative writing training, and we often provide feedback to other team members' works to help them improve their capacity as well. And the third one is team engagement. So communication and knowledge management team, we are the one that needs to be active in encouraging team members to contribute in developing communications products and be fully involved in communications activities, whatever that is. And I know we know everybody is busy. That's why we instead of only encouraging them to be involved, to contribute to our newsletter, for example, we create guidelines. It's like a cheat sheet. Create Q&A sheet for them to be able to contribute to story writing more easily. We do brainstorming session a lot. We include team members in our product development to discuss deeper. And the last one is about newsletter production. Yes, we encourage team members, all of them. Mashan also encourage all of us to be more aware of highlighting project achievements. It could be the platform for all of us to enhance writing capacity and stay updated about activities in each project working area, because we are regional and we have 3 countries. So we need to stay updated about what happens there, here and there. We face
Ella?
challenge. Yeah.
Sorry, let me just give you an advice. We need to wrap up in 2 minutes to give way to
Oh, okay.
Q&As.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Okay, I'm gonna go quickly. So yeah, the challenge in internal communications is of course, it's a bit tricky in maintaining team motivation sometimes. Fostering collaborative cultures and solution to it is involve regular, transparent updates, inclusive meetings, welcome feedback, etc. The next one, please. Yeah, this is our product. Wait, is it slide 12, 10 maybe?
I'm showing slide 14. This is 14 right now. Our
Can you back?
product.
Can you turn back? Again. Yeah, this one. Okay, this is our quarterly newsletter that you can access through our website. This newsletter basically bridges information gaps and keeps our team connected. Next, please. Okay, that one, digital communication. Okay, we can skip this one. Yeah, we optimize platforms. Since our focus issue is a bit more niche, so we create section to be more attractive to general public. Be consistent, and we direct everything to the website because we chose website as our main digital platform. Digital storytelling. I believe I agree with other speakers that storytelling is super powerful. We create compelling narratives using interesting visual in our digital platforms. Human interest angle mostly attracted people's attention. Story from the field and project activities. We also do mini campaign, even though campaign is not our main communication activity. We utilize special day commemoration to raise awareness and attract more audience, for example, through digital competition. We can see after this slide. And we do strategic editorial calendars. This is very crucial. We plan our content weekly to keep sharing consistent, engaging updates with our audience. And collaborative content, if it's possible, and use tagging as much as possible. Work together on content and use tags to boost visibility, keeping our audience regularly engaged and with varied updates. And again, regular analysis to see what's working and what's not, what's effective and what's ineffective. The challenge in digital communications we face include include navigating algorithm changes, engaging a diverse online audience, and keeping content fresh and impactful. The solution to it might be a dynamic content strategy, audience engagement through interactive and multimedia content, and constant analytics review to tailor our approach for maximum resonance and engagement. Next.
Sorry, just in the interest of time, I hope you don't mind jumping straight to the media engagement, because I think this is something that interests the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe previous slide, media engagement. Yeah, so media engagement. The purpose is basically to build strong connection with them, ensuring project news and updates are shared accurately. This is also strengthening public presence, boosts trust, and helps our message make a bigger impact, supporting our overall goals. What we do in media engagement. Next. So first thing first, we do assessment, media landscape assessment. We assess the media landscape and identify popular outlets in each country, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste, to target that's popular to target community to tailor our media relations effectively. Then we did media relationship building. We keep doing it up until now. We create media. We have created media network in the ATS region at regional level last year, 2 years ago. by organizing journalist fellowship where they can learn deeper about our project and have first-hand experience in the project working area. And we actively produce op-ed. We also set the target in everything we do. We set the target of the op-ed. At least we produce two op-ed per year. And we do media engagement activities. We invite journalists to the events and activities at many levels. Distribute the press release, even though the journalists didn't doesn't come to our event, we still distribute the press release, the pictures, and we conduct press conferences or doorstop interview. And then maintaining media relationship. Sorry.
I'm
Not
just
yet.
showing all the examples because yeah, we need to go to Q&A at some point and we only have 8 minutes left. So here,
Yeah. Mhm.
good. Jakarta Post, which else is the other Bangkok Post and what is the
Yeah,
first
so we
one?
have Tatoli. Tatoli is a national media in Timor Leste. It's like Kompas in Indonesia. It's like uh, maybe internationally BBC. So it's like the most popular outlet in TL, in Timor Leste.
So just to start already the question and answer, if you don't mind, while we're here, because I
Yeah.
find this very interesting. Um, how do you monitor, like, if your story gets posted on Jakarta Post or Bangkok Post or on mainstream media in the region? Do you get a feedback on how many people actually access the web page? How much exposure you got?
That's the tricky one actually about the exposure. We as I mentioned before, I do media monitoring every day, daily media monitoring, and we also keep track the mention every day. And if we send the op-ed, for example, to Tatoli or Jakarta Post, we keep asking them to about the updates, like do you post it already, did you post it already, and how about the outreach, can we access the outreach? And sometimes it's a bit tricky because they don't really share the outreach numbers.
So I think maybe some of our participants have questions for the three speakers. So any questions for Stefania from CFI and also for Mashan, who's a project manager. Okay, so we'd like to take everyone back. So Stefania, maybe you can also put back your video on and also Mashan. So first question, what tools does everyone use for media monitoring?
Okay, I can try to answer that. So for media monitoring, it's basically to the best of my knowledge, every tool is paid. We need to pay, and we don't pay in ATSI. We just do manually. But if you have budget on it, just do try media monitoring tools. That's very beneficial for your project or organization. Actually, yeah, you can search it. It's a lot, and mostly I think every tool is paid. Nothing is
Stefania?
free nowadays.
Stefania, maybe you have some thoughts on media monitoring. I mean, since you worked as a journalist.
Yeah, I actually don't monitor the media. There's an office in FAO that does that. So I would have to ask them how they do it. But yes, I'm sure, as Stella says, that there are tools out there where you plug in, keywords or something, and it just tells you where your very quickly where your story has appeared and how many people have seen it.
Okay, thank you very much, Stefania. I also recall that in UNDP at the headquarters, So they use the journalists use a tool, but I can't remember what exactly it is. But also to plug, at this point, the IW Learn team is going to put up a communications hub, which will have resources. So like references, a list of tools, maybe also including the strategic communication planning that Josie mentioned that they're developing in the Nature Hub. So we can put it there. And also there is a tool that we're using internally, for example, in the Nature Hub. It's called Hootsuite, wherein we can collaborate and we can schedule our social media posts. It's not free, of course. It costs like I can't remember, but it's a lot of money. But yeah, it's very
Yeah, I
useful if
used
you're
that.
working with a big team. It
I used that in
works.
the past. I used
Yeah, I
that in the
think
past
for
when
for
it's
one team,
free.
it's yeah, it's very expensive. I think it's around 200. Can easily go around to $200 per month for a big group, but only one
Mm-hmm.
access. So and FAO, someone posted. Let me also. I don't know if we can unmute King Jing. I don't know how to say the name. I'm very
Hi,
sorry.
yeah. Hi, Jing, and hi,
Yes, feel free
everyone.
to chime in.
Yeah, thanks everyone for this great presentation. Yeah, I just would like to add FAO use meltwater at a corporate level. Of course, you have to pay, but it's a very powerful tool. And I was typing at the program and project level. We also use Google with the free version, mostly to tracking things, also to see the keywords and to see how many searches have been done. Also, Google Analytics is a very useful tool. And now all the social media have their own advanced level to tracking statistics. So this is just 5 cents from my side. Thanks. And nice to meet everyone.
Thanks very much for that. Yeah, that's I think this is the one that I was referring that we use in UNDP to monitor, for example, news. Yeah, Meltwa. We will include this in the communications hub that I hope the PCU will share to the group at sometime soon. Any more questions? Colleagues, don't maybe okay, we're reaching our last minute. So, but if you don't mind, so for those who can stay for an extra 5 minutes, that would be great. But yeah, we understand that yeah, we only have 1 minute. But if anyone has any question, please feel free to raise your hands. We can also unmute you and you can ask your question directly. Okay, we have one from Constantina. Yes, please.
Yes, well, it is not really a question, but it would be more of a concluding, a call actually to all this community of IW communicators and more. Before that, I would really like to thank you all for your contributions. I think we reached new levels in this series of IW Learn webinars. Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you very much to all of the contributors, to all of our speakers. And just an early call of what will be coming up and the call towards this community. You know that we have IWC 10 coming up in September. And this is also the 30 years of international waters. So we will be issuing several calls. One will be for the contributions to the conference, but we decided to issue a separate call to get your inputs on the stories and the highlights of international waters over these 30 years. We are aiming at having a coherent visual story of IW, how IW was created and what is the actual impact. So please be prepared and please start putting together your video galleries, your photo galleries, your video galleries. We will need all this material already from next month. We'll start compiling all this material, and most importantly, your stories. We want you to show, I think Stefania couldn't say it better, on the power of stories, of how the stories, actually impact and get the message across. So we'd really like to have your stories, apart from what we already have in IW Learn, our stories on exposure. But please make sure, that you compile, your best stories, the real impact of international waters. We will need everything, to showcase the real, what IW has achieved over these 30 years at the conference. So not a comment, but just a heads up of what is coming, and we are really counting on your support to that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Constantino, for that very, very timely and urgent reminder. We only have a few months before the big International Waters Conference. I think everyone is excited. And that's actually the time when we showcase all of the work that you're doing. So would be good to start thinking about now using the tips that we got from our colleagues who shared their best practice. Um, so I think, are there any more interventions, feedback, questions from the group? If there is none, maybe we can pull up the last poll questions, and it would be great if everyone can give us your feedback, Camilla. And please do keep on sending your stories. And thank you very much, because I've seen the number, the influx of stories coming in to the PCU, to our inbox. So it's really great to see many of you and many new projects, new names contributing stories from the ground. That's really great. Keep it coming. If you need our help, yeah, you know where to write. It's pcu@iwlearn.org. Again, pcu@iwlearn.org, and you'd be able to reach Constantina, Claudette, Camilla, everyone in the team. And I will also take this opportunity to say goodbye. Farewell, not goodbye. I mean, my consultancy with IW Learn just ended last month or the month before, but it's difficult to get out of the community because it's such a nice community to be in. So thank you very much for your support, and keep the support flowing to the PCU. And yeah, this is a very powerful quotation that I'd like to share. Words create worlds. So keep the message, the positive message flowing in the community. And these are my contacts. If you need any assistance, I mean, if you just need a sounding board on your stories or whatever, you've got our contacts. And soon we hope to announce the communications hub. And thanks everyone. If you have anything to share about any upcoming campaigns that you have that you need amplification, please type it in on the chat. We will keep it on for the next 5 minutes so that we're aware of what's going on and how we can help you, and we know that we need to visit your social media accounts and retweet, etc. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of Thursday. And until the next communications webinar series. Bye. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you,
And
you.
thanks
everyone.
again to our speakers. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you to
Bye.
all, and
Thank
special
you.
thanks to Christine. Thank you for being with us, Christine. And you will always be with us in a way or another. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.